All right, guys, we're up for another penetration station test. We're putting two different arrows up against two different bows because we are determined to figure out which bow and arrow configuration is going to give us the best penetration. Are we going to stay with the compound? Are we going to switch to and go down the recurve rabbit hole? Both bow systems shoot a little bit different of an arrow. But what's going to win this penetration test is which bow system has the greater sectional density in its arrow configuration. And that largely depends on which bow system can shoot the arrow that's the stiffest, heaviest, narrowest, shoots absolutely perfectly straight. Will it be the compound or the recurve? And for a while I thought, well, the compound's going to win that hands down, but I've been using the mechanical release aid from the compound on the recurve, and it definitely reduces the lateral torque, side torque, really cleans up that lateral bend in its flight and impact. But I've been noticing a little bit of vertical pitch. So I did paper tune both of these arrows through both bows. I got an absolute perfect bullet hole with the compound. We did not get perfect bullet holes with the recurve. Okay, here's our absolute perfect bullet hole with compound right there. Here's the field point we used. So if I can get this, there's absolutely no gap around that field point. Just in there perfectly. With the recurve, we were looking at, I think we got, this was the best one we got right here. Which, if you can see, I mean, that's not perfect, guys. Look at that gap up there. So we're after absolute perfection in penetration. And so far, the compound seems like it's going to win this, but we got to test everything. We got to see the science, and that's where these two different arrow sizes come into play. So here's the arrow we're going to be shooting with the compound. This is the one that bolt holed up for us, and here's the arrow we're going to be shooting the recurve that gave us a slight vertical high tear that we couldn't really fix, because I think that with the recurve, you don't have cam timing, you don't have cam synchronization and constraint on the string, and the limbs are much more free and they flex a little bit. It's not totally perfectly synchronized. And with that, even though you're clearing away the lateral flex via the hand torque, right, you're still getting some vertical flex via the limbs being less perfect than compound. And I think that's what we're seeing, and that's what's showing up. However, what gives us a little bit of an edge with the recurve is the smaller diameter shaft. As you can see here, this outside diameter of, they're both 1/66 shafts, but this outside diameter is 0.256. This is 0.218. Okay? And the heads are pretty similar, but this 218 recurve arrow is slightly smaller to match that smaller shaft. Okay? But they're both going to optimize frontal surface area for sure. Now this is where the compound bow, with its perfect flight, may out penetrate the recurve, because this arrow has a micro diameter 1/66 arrow, 0.256 OD, just slightly over 1/4 inch. Also is a 200 spine. So I mean the shaft flex is fairly minimal. So when it hits and impacts, it's going to maintain that 1/4 inch-ish alignment, cutting path straighter with less deviation, right? You're not losing a lot. As the shaft flexes, the front barely moves. So that 1/4 inch isn't changing much. Whereas the 500, this is a 500 spine arrow, if I forgot to say that, even at 0.218 outside diameter, look at on launch and impact especially. I mean, watch the front. The middle of the shaft is bowing. It's going to impact, right? And you just lost that smaller diameter advantage, or if we're doing vertical, right? You just lost that smaller diameter advantage. So, I don't know. We'll see, guys, but we got to take it to the test. We got to take it to the penetration station. Let's go. So, you can see we impacted off axis. That may be due to a weak spine, I'm not sure, or a weaker spine. We hit high. He definitely didn't make it. I was definitely straighter. So that second shot did impact straighter. But that first shot, here's the first shot, and we came out way over here. So from here, from there. Second shot was right down here, right there, and it ended right in there. Came out here. So that's pretty straight for the second shot. First shot came out here on the first jug, and on the last jug entered all the way down there. So that's quite a bit of deviation. Losing energy. Okay, so complete pass through with the arrow, and we're in here pretty good. Took 2 shots because we took 2 shots at the recurve. First shot was down here, second shot was up here. Second shot was slightly right from this angle, that hole. So slightly left from this angle and slightly left here. And both of these dropped a little bit. It's perfectly straight though. If you look at the line, the hole is right above those 2 dark hash marks. That's the first one. Exit on the first jug and the exit on the last jug. You can see right through those 2 dark hash marks. straight as a whistle. Stuck in pretty good there. About that far. All right, so each time we're in the target pretty good. Straight in. Doesn't look good. Okay, there's the front entry. First shot, second shot. Okay. Let's back from the back. Okay, now let's go get the first jug. First shot, second shot. Okay, that's the entry. Here's the exit. Yeah. First shot's down low. Second shot's up high, right here. So, should be right about there. Ooh, perfect for the second shot. It's right about the same alignment. Be right through here, right through there. Perfect for the second shot. First shot. There. That'd be like right about there. First shot. Right about here. And that's straight. Well, guys, I think I'd have to give that victory to the compound. Here's the new RX 10, by the way. Went with the tombstone because that is pretty sick color. All tombstoned out. Tombstone limbs, tombstone riser, tombstone quiver. But I was honestly shocked. I had to redo that 8 jug penetration test with the compound just because that first one, it was so straight on. It went through the same hole through most of the jugs, and I just wanted a little more fair penetration test. So redid it. Again, compared all the jugs, the holes were straight on identical. The ones that really matter, I think, though, are the first and the last, and they were straight on. The first shot entered lower, exited lower, and you could see if you drew a straight line from where it entered a little higher and it exited a little lower, it was straight in alignment. And then the second shot entered higher and exited obviously a little bit lower, but higher than the first shot. And if you compare the first jug with the last jug, they're in straight axial alignment. Both were complete pass-throughs with extra penetration in the foam. Recurve didn't make it out the eighth jug, which is a surprise because when we did a recurve penetration test last, I think, September, the recurve actually went through, I think, 7 jugs, but it was close. It barely came out the 7th, so I'm not surprised it didn't make it out the 8th. Anyways, these tests are what's going to convince me to, stick with the compound or go down the recurve rabbit hole. So obviously more tests to come, but I'm definitely leaning towards the compound, sticking with the compound. Recurve is fun though. It's just I'm after max penetration, and so far I'm seeing that's being won with the compound.